Well, I think the key here obviously is continued funding, but assuming the funding is steady and secure, they're looking for opportunities to get this done probably in the next
2034.
10 years or so. You say, well, gosh, why does it take that long? Well, it is an extraordinarily complex requirement of building essentially in the water. And if you think about having to do that and the difficulty that creates, it's an engineering challenge, and it's going to require hundreds of construction workers working really around the clock, if you will. At one point, they'll have literally a cement industry and business operating 24/7, pouring cement into a series of columns that will over time build out the 1,200-foot canal. And this is essentially, the key here is it's going to allow a 15-unit barge not to have to decouple, not to have to be delayed at this particularly important point. The way they described it is it's sort of like this is a 2-lane highway that's going into a 4-lane highway, so it creates a clog. So what they're going to do is they're going to make this a 4-lane highway. So product is going to be able to move more smoothly from this point now down to the ports in New Orleans.
Mr. Secretary, the Biden administration, and with the help of Congresswoman Budzinski, has really put a lot of money here. When we look at the improvements that are going to be done here, what do you see as the long-term and future years as to where we're going to go? What do we need? What sort of work would be there, and how would it benefit agriculture?
Well, one thing that people don't quite fully understand is the evolving nature of agriculture in the United States. About 70 years ago, we transitioned to a program that involved and encouraged farmers to produce great quantities. And our farmers responded by doing so. I think we're now beginning to transition into figuring out strategies for how we might be able to generate multiple sources of income for what happens on the farm in addition to selling a commodity. So I think what you heard earlier this week, last week, we put out the structure for the sustainable aviation fuel opportunity. Now, this is an industry that has not existed until now. It's a low carbon fuel alternative to the high carbon intense fuels that are used today. That's a 36 billion gallon opportunity compared to today's ethanol industry, which is 15 billion. The ethanol industry, which supports around 400,000 jobs. So do the math. When you do 2x times of production, you're going to have significant number of job opportunities just in that one industry. Now, if you expand that over the thousands of opportunities of conversion of agricultural waste into a whole range of bioproducts, you're talking about a transition in a completely different rural economy. So you're going to have the transportation system that will allow those products to get to market efficiently and effectively.
And that transportation system would be using those new fuels?
It's going to be using those new fuels, and in fact, it's frankly going to be using a lot of the new opportunities, because as you look at lubricants and solvents and things of that nature, all of that can be bio-based. Even plastics today can be bio-based, and so you're going to see this transition because it's going to be climate friendly. Because it's climate friendly, farmers will also qualify for a variety of new credits that are being generated by private markets that will pay farmers for the environmental result. Now all of a sudden, that's not just selling corn and soybeans, it's getting added value because it's going into a value-added sustainable aviation fuel. It's a waste product being converted into that fuel, new source of income. Environmental credits, new source of income. Now that farm, instead of one source of income, has 3 coming at the same time.
Full circle.
Full circle. Circular economy, and that's what it should be. And that's going to keep small and mid-sized farms going and continuing so that we stop the erosion and stop the decline of the number of small and mid-sized farms, and we can start rebuilding the rural communities upon which this country has for so many years depended on the population to make sure we have an adequate military force.
Representative Budzinski, where does your fellow members of Congress, where are they going to need to fit in? What should be some of their priorities that you've got up your sleeve for them to do in this nature, this whole full circle?
Sure. Well, I'd say for these infrastructure projects in particular, maintaining the competitive edge for our agricultural economy, for our growers in the community, it means all of us working together, continuing that work on a bipartisan basis to find the funding, sustainable funding for infrastructure projects like this. I think that's something that is critically important.